adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream with me, Gisela K. This is Grizzly True Crime, and we're going to be watching a highly anticipated press conference where I wonder whose names they're going to say. Is it celebrities? What's going to happen? Let me quickly read to you what's happening. This press conference starts in 2 minutes, so I'll go over here quickly for you. Please like and share so others can also learn about this information. Welcome to everyone, mods, patrons, members, subscribers, and anyone new. If you know nothing about this case, you can check out the description box, or you can also follow the playlist that I've made on this case and read the full, well, I read to you, the full criminal indictment as well as Cassandra Ventura's indictment. There's many more documents we could go through, but of course, a lot of the allegations are very similar abuse, which is horrible. My goodness. Okay, so Tony Buzbee says a press conference setting out the claims alleged against Sean, Diddy, Combs, and others will be at 1 p.m. Tuesday. This is in Houston, Texas. Access is restricted to those with press credentials only. The Buzbee law firm and the Ava Law Group represent well over 100 individuals at this point. And there will be more. I'm sure there could be thousands, right? If you've been victimized or have witnessed such, call the sexual abuse hotline. They give the hotline number there. Be brave. And then they give their link, www.txattorneys.com. So if anyone feels that they can come forward, if you know anything, if you saw something, please say something. Let's hope that every victim of this alleged horrifying criminal who is just begging to be let out. He's like, let me out. He keeps offering money, firing lawyers, hiring new lawyers. They're not letting him out. Anyway, but let's hope that everybody gets justice, okay? All right, so for immediate release, the Buzbee Law Firm and Ava Law Group to release information regarding pending lawsuits. The Buzbee Law Firm and the Ava Law Group will hold a press conference Tuesday, 1 p.m. at the Buzbee Law Firm Houston office. At the press conference, information will be made available for the first time to the public regarding claims made by victims against Sean Diddy Combs and other alleged perpetrators where RAPE, SA, and sexual exploitation are alleged. At the conference, lead counsel Tony Buzbee will release pertinent details regarding cases that will be filed on behalf of what is now well over 100 alleged victims. Details provided at the conference will include information regarding other potential defendants, information about the claimants themselves, where the alleged activity occurred, and what allegedly occurred. Mr. Buzbee also intends to share specific compelling stories of victims and take questions. Also at the conference, Mr. Buzbee will discuss the various state laws that apply, the venues where the case will be filed, and the expected next steps. Further, at the conference, Andrew Van Oresdale, co-counsel and attorney with the Ava Law Group, will publish the SA hotline and explain the process when witnesses or victims call that number. Okay, hold on 1 second. I might actually have to switch over here. Just give me 1 second. I'm just monitoring this press conference. Okay, they are waiting. And then, according to Buzbee, this is an important matter that we intend to aggressively pursue. We will leave no stone unturned to find all potentially liable parties, to include any individual or entity who participated in or benefited from this egregious behavior. As we do this important work, we ask that the public understand it's very difficult and takes an incredible amount of courage for victims to come forward. I can only imagine. Oh my goodness. We've unpacked a lot of this in the criminal indictment. If you didn't hear that, you got to check it out. It's just to know that the scope of this and how big this could actually get with decades of these freak-off parties. He had normal parties for lots of celebrities went, and then he had these after parties. These freak-offs just sound absolutely horrifying. And then the baby oil, which may have contained drugs, is what I last read. Oh my word. And then his attorney, that he's now fired, said, no, but the Costco, it's right there. He just stocked up. And then Costco came out and said, no, we don't sell that. That was just quite interesting, right? Okay, so they say, as we do this important work, we ask that the public understand it's very difficult. It takes an incredible amount of courage for the victims to come forward. I ask that we treat these brave individuals with the dignity and compassion that they deserve as they go through this trying time. Further, I'm also asking that if you have been victimized or are a witness to the alleged behavior, please come forward. Your identity will remain confidential at this time. Details of the conference. Those without press credentials will not be admitted. Uniformed police personnel will be present. And so they go on, right? So that's what's happening today, okay? You can also, they say they're with the Buzbee law firm headquartered in Houston, Texas, and can be found on the web at thattexasattorneys.com, txattorneys.com. All right, so that's the news. All right, now I'm going to quickly just see if anything is streaming live yet on this. I've got a lot of links open for us. They are, and they're waiting over here on Fox 26 News, Houston. So we are actually just going to be waiting a little bit here for a moment. So I could have read that a little slower. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I was like, had to get this all in because I forgot I set the stream for 5:02. I was like ready for on the hour, you know? And then I'm like, oh my word, everyone's waiting for me. Sorry about that. Houston attorney Tony Buzbee to reveal new details on more than 100 pending lawsuits. Like, I'm still trying to sort out the 12 lawsuits. Like, okay, let me read all these documents, lots and lots of pages, lots of allegations. And I'm like, 100 more? 100. And there might be 200 on top of that. And then 500. And then 1,000 for all we know. Right? Okay, so let me just refresh this page. We are waiting for this press conference. Fox 26 Houston says waiting for. And so we can actually read some of this. Okay, this is pretty much what we've just learned. Yeah, so they say this news conference will be streamed live in this article. So what I'm going to do is bring this across. And then, okay, now we can read something else here quickly while we wait. And as I do this, I'm sure that will start because that's how it goes, isn't it? As soon as we start reading something else, it's like, okay, now it's going. Diddy's lawyer, former lawyer now, shares insight on rapper's state of mind in prison. Sean Diddy Combs' lawyer shed some light on the rapper's state of mind in prison. The music mogul was arrested in New York earlier this month and charged with ST, racketeering, and transporting for prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty to all the charges. He's obviously saying that he's innocent. Is it on? I knew it would be on when I do this. Where is it on? I don't see it on yet. It's not on my sources. Let's just see what... Right? It's almost like it's on. Okay. The music mogul was arrested in New York. He was charged with all that. He's facing numerous lawsuits over claims of SA, with the latest alleged victim identified only by the pseudonym Jane Doe, claiming she was repeatedly SA'd and drugged at Diddy's homes, becoming pregnant after one encounter. That was the 12th one. Okay. My goodness. I'm going to put this here so you guys can see. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Where? If you say it's happening, please send me a link. Let's see this email. Check my emails, grizzlytruecrime@gmail.com. Send me the link, please, and then we'll go to it. Because the two local news sources I have, I don't see it happening. Not yet. Not yet. Stand by. Okay. You guys are all saying click to Houston. Let's play this and see. Here's an advert, which is always fun. Stand by. Hiding. I'm putting, yeah, Caroline says now it's a case of mistaken identity. Let's just see if this one is, hello, there we go. Okay. Sound.
We have received since our first
boost
announcement. Even before the indictment of Sean Combs, we have received
go back a bit. Can we go back?
Individuals.
No.
As we file these individual cases. Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities that we will name as defendants as we file these individual cases.
There you go.
And you should know, to the extent the clients feel comfortable, we also intend to make these individuals available to the authorities, specifically to the FBI. And you should also know a few of them have already been spoken to by the FBI. Now, before we discuss the nature of the claims and claimants themselves, let me comment on the large volume of calls we have received since our first announcement. Even before the indictment of Sean Combs, we had received a small volume of calls and had screened a handful of cases.
Okay, everybody, I found a link that's better visuals, better sound. So we're going to start over, and don't worry, I'll just chop that out for us, and then we can see it from the beginning here, okay? Are we ready? We're going to bring this over. Okay, here we go. It's a much better angle and all of that. They go from right here. Okay, so we're going to watch from this link, which I'll put in the description box if you don't want any commentary or anything like that. It's Fox 26 Houston. All right.
Fans will go, no matter the evidence to the contrary, to defend celebrities they love. I mean, there's a reason for this word fans. They're fanatics. I've personally already been threatened multiple times on social media. And when I agreed to pursue this, I expected as much. This isn't my first rodeo. But victims who step forward to have their voices heard should not be subjected to that kind of conduct. They should not be targeted. I want to say this, and I want to be clear about it. Although we are vetting each call as stringently as we can, I always start with a mindset that I believe victims. I believe victims because I understand the tremendous courage it takes to step forward. So if you're watching this, please hear me. If you're out there and you have been victimized, you are not alone. There is a great strength in numbers. You can seek redress. You can obtain justice. We can help you, and we will help you. That being said, as stated, we are vetting every call that we receive. We have had to turn away some. For each, we ask for corroboration. For each, we ask for the identity of witnesses. We also have collected pictures, videos, texts. We check venues, we check dates. We want to corroborate that the claims being made have legitimacy and merit. We have on staff now a former detective from the Major Offenders Unit of Houston Police Department who is helping us vet each claim. We're using our common sense. We're being stringent because, as I said, these are not easy cases. They're very tough. The process is hard, and in some cases, the process is very lengthy. These cases are hard to prove. Many times, it's the victim's word against the alleged perpetrator. Each of these victims will no doubt be publicly attacked by the alleged perpetrators, and in some cases, the general public. The feckless and cowardly keyboard warriors love to attack. We know what we're up against. We did not enter this fray blindly. I wish it was my last such fray. I wish this type of behavior wasn't so pervasive. But it is what it is, so we will press on. As I said, our law firms have been retained by 120 individuals at this point to pursue cases in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs. You should know, in this group, it is evenly divided between males and females. There are 60 males and 60 females who...
Yes, that's what I was saying the last time. Is there's going to be many male victims coming forward, and I hope they'll have the courage to do so because it must be so difficult as well, right? To be like, okay, so the sound is only on the left side, but at least the visuals are way better, and I boosted it for us, so I hope that it's okay for us to hear the information.
Who have joined us to pursue these claims as plaintiffs. In this group, 62% identify as African American, 30% are white, and the remainder are Hispanic or Asian. The victims are from more than 25 states. The majority are from California, New York, Georgia, and Florida. And I want to focus on the ages of these victims. When we talk about the ages of the victims when the conduct occurred, it's shocking. Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15. 25 of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts complained of. The time frame of the acts complained of is very wide. The conduct at issue spans from the years 1991 all the way till this year, 2024. If you wonder why there are so many alleged victims, that's your answer. We're talking about more than 25 years of this type of conduct. Now, although most of the victims who have stepped forward were victimized after 2015, this has been going on for a very long time. Now, when you think about the fact that some of this conduct occurred 25 years ago, and you wonder why would it take somebody so long to step forward, I want to remind you that many states in the United States have recognized that it's very difficult for a victim to step forward and to make these types of allegations when something very terrible has happened to them. I'll use New York, the state of New York, as an example. The state of New York has specific statutes in place that revive claims that are even claims that would typically be not able to be brought, that it revives such claims and they can be brought even 25 to 30 years later. Because there's a recognition there in New York and California and other states that it's very difficult for a victim to come forward. And I would respectfully suggest the only reason many of these people are coming forward because they see other victims coming forward. And it gives them some comfort that, hey, I won't be the only one. And I expect more victims will come forward. You know, there's an old saying that says, a lie has great speed, but truth has endurance. The acts complained of in these cases that we're going to file occurred primarily in New York, either Manhattan or the Hamptons, or occurred in California, primarily in Los Angeles, or in Florida, primarily in Miami. Most of these events and incidents occurred at parties, typically after parties, or album release parties, New Year's Eve parties, 4th of July parties, something they called a puppy party, the all-white party, although several of these events occurred at auditions. Many times, especially young people wanting to break into the industry, were coerced into this type of conduct in the promise of being made a star or in the promise of having Sean Combs listen to their tape or even let them read for Sean Combs. You should know that some of this behavior occurred at well-known venues in New York City. Some of this behavior occurred at private residences of people that we all know. Some of this behavior occurred at hotels that we're all familiar with. You should know that more than 55% of the victims filed reported this conduct to either the authorities, that is the police, or to hospitals. We're in the process of collecting with our team assistants medical records, reports that were made to the authorities, and I've already said that some of the individuals in this group did in fact talk to the FBI. You should know that several of the individuals, and when I say several, I mean many, who did in fact seek medical treatment were drug tested, and drugs were found in their system, weird drugs that you probably never heard of. One in particular that continues to pop up is a drug called xylazine or trank, which based on our research is known as a horse tranquilizer. Now, there's been a lot of reports that we're filing a class action. This is not a class action. Class action is when one or two people file a case on behalf of a group of people. That's not this. These cases will be individual cases. Each case will live and die on its own merit. These cases will be filed individually, one plaintiff against whoever the defendants were involved in the case. Each case may be filed in one venue like California, another case may be filed in New York. One case may sue just Sean Combs, but multiple other people. One case may sue a range of people. I would expect most, though, to be filed, as I said, in New York and Los Angeles. Now, I know this. Many of you came here thinking or hoping or perhaps believing that I may start naming names. Well, that day will come, but it won't be today. The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you. These are individual cases. There are indeed other perpetrators involved. They will be revealed when that particular individual case is ready to be filed. They already know who they are. And I'm talking here about not just the cowardly but complicit bystanders. That is, those people that we know watched this behavior occur and did nothing. And I'm talking about the people that participated, encouraged it, egged it on. They know who they are. I call them the facilitators of foul play, willing participants in vile conduct. As we identify them, each will be part of this case as defendants. These defendants will not only include individuals, but would also include corporate entities who ultimately profited off of this culture and behavior. I'm looking at banks, pharmaceutical companies, hotels. We know that many of these individuals were paid cash. We know that many of these individuals involved, whether they were the ones being assaulted and abused or they're witnessing other people being assaulted and abused and then paid and threatened and told to leave. Typically paid 10 grand in cash and told to leave. And then threatened as they were leaving. So in addition to Sean Combs, you should know the defendants in these cases we're going to file will include anyone, of course, who engaged in the assault or exploitation, anyone who participated in such in any way, anyone who encouraged or facilitated this conduct, anyone who was in the room and watched it happen but made no effort to stop it, any venue or venue owner who was aware of what was going on but failed to stop it, any individual or entity who knew about the conduct and benefited from it but did nothing to report it or stop it, and any individual or entity who covered it up or helped cover it up. These people who know who they are should just come forward now. I would imagine, as we speak here, there are a myriad of people who are very nervous. You can't hide skeletons in the closet forever. I would expect there are many people out there right now who are desperately searching their memories as they delete their texts and data. Now, although these are, in fact, individual cases, there is a common theme, an MO, if you will. Typically, the victim is lured into a situation where he or she is given a drink. Typically, that drink, reported by these victims, is apparently laced with something. Once that drink takes effect, the perpetrators perform all kinds of sexual acts on the victims, many times passing him or her around as other people watch and enjoy the show, and then leave the victim ashamed, confused, injured, and wondering what happened. When the victim reaches out, he or she is told not to say anything. Sometimes there are threats of physical violence or financial repercussions or bodily harm. The claims we intend to bring will include the following: violent sexual assault or rape, sexual abuse, facilitated sex with a controlled substance, false imprisonment, compelling prostitution, sexual misconduct, dissemination of video recordings, false imprisonment, sexual abuse of minors. Given the large volume of cases, and given our other docket obligations, and given the fact that we want to be sure when we file these cases that they are fully vetted, I expect we'll start filing these cases against Sean Combs and other perpetrators within the next 30 days. Now, it's rare, sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, this type of activity is pervasive in our society, and it's rare we get a chance where we can really focus on this as a country and really focus on this about how pervasive this is and what we can, as collectively can do about it. So I thought I'd take this opportunity before I go into some of the individual cases and talk about some of the individual claims being made and so you'll get a sense of what this 120 people group looks like individually. I want to bring forward Carrie Paul. She's a national victim advocate who helps victims who have been victimized by this type of conduct. And she has some important words, and I hope you'll pay close attention. I think it's important that you hear from her.
Hello, I'm Carrie Paul with the National Victim Advocate. It's not easy for any survivor to come forward. Our culture doesn't believe survivors. It blames and questions them. Instead of showing support, many choose to enable abusers. The media runs stories asking why it took so long for survivors to come forward instead of asking what barriers exist. We also don't equip law enforcement with the ability to handle sexual assault crimes. Lack of funding translates to lack of training. We have officers in the field that don't know what to say to a rape victim, and also an alarming amount of backlogged, untested rape kits. Prosecutors are focused on what they can prove in a case, and if so, how to do that at time of trial. Advocates and staff are stretched thin with growing caseloads in the criminal justice system. Most people don't know how the criminal justice works in general. There isn't enough staff or resources to adequately explain the entire process to every victim and survivor. Our culture works against victims and survivors every day, and abusers know this. Abusers work themselves into positions of power, building a public image that is trusted and financially large enough to make people look away. Abusers are unfortunately very skilled at power and control, the foundation of abuse. They seek victims who are vulnerable, such as children, their employees, and their intimate partners, all who see a different version than the public does, all who rely on the abuser in some way. And for those that do come forward and aren't believed, face questions like, are you sure it happened that way? Were you drinking? What were you wearing? All of this creates an environment that enables abusers to continue abusing them and future victims. To the survivors that have come forward despite not being believed at some point in time, your courage is like nothing we have seen before. We thank you for coming forward for yourself and all survivors. And lastly, I want all survivors that are watching this to know we believe you and we support you. Thank you.
You guys are saying this is going to be bigger than Jeffrey Epstein or Harvey Weinstein. It seems like it. This is huge and involving children. That's so sickening. Oh my goodness. Thank you all for being here as we watch this together.
I want you now to hear from my co-counsel, Andrew Van Arsdale. We've created a sexual abuse hotline, and I want him to visit with us just a few moments about how that works and the kind of volume of calls we've received.
Thank you, Tony. Like Tony said, my name is Andrew Van Arsdale. I'm the managing partner of ABA Law Group. We have offices in California, Montana, and North Carolina. To build off of what you just so well said, it's very hard to come forward. And given what we've experienced the past 10 days is really unprecedented in my career, at least. We represent thousands of survivors of abuse. And never, ever in a 10-day period have we seen over 3,000 people come forward where we've confirmed and decided to investigate and represent 120 people while we're continuing to work through another 100+ cases to prove them up, to validate what had happened here and to hold those that are responsible accountable. And so like Tony said, we've set this up. It's 1-800-200-7474. I have a team of people standing by literally. If you know that this happened to someone and you have information about it, please contact us. If this happened to you, come forward. There's attorney-client privilege here. What you tell us is in confidence. Yes, we'll have to go out and build your case, but we will protect you. And the other thing that I want to say is the pattern and practice of this, again, is unprecedented. Over 30 plus years of the same sort of events happening, people thrust into the circle reportedly, and horrible things happening to them as a result. And from talking to these people that have come forward these past 10 days, I can tell you unequivocally that because the federal government did what it needed to do and indicted this man, that they put him in jail and a judge kept him in jail, they tell me directly, this validates my feelings. For so long, I thought it was my fault. What is it about me that put myself in that scenario? What was I wearing at the time? What did I do to be subjected to such horrific treatment at these people that I was trying to trust? Well, we know now it was not your fault. You were victimized by a group of powerful people that operated for 30 plus years, taking advantage of their wealth and the power that they held within the music industry. So again, thank you to every single person that has come forward and contacted our office over the past 10 days. If you or someone you know suffered the same sort of treatment, please contact us at the number behind me and we will help you. Thank you.
I think it speaks to how important this issue is in the United States and frankly internationally, that we have reputable people here that want to provide kind of information that I think victims need to hear, witnesses need to hear, the public needs to hear. Let me introduce to you now Olivia Rivers from the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, and let her visit with you a few moments about these types of cases.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Q Olivia Rivers. I am just served my 6th year as the board chair for the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. I'm also the CEO for the Bridge Over Troubled Waters, which is a local rape crisis center here in the Houston area. So thank you for being here as we address these heinous crimes. Sexual assault is not just a crime of violence against the body. It's an assault on the very essence of human dignity and safety. It shatters lives, it destroys confidence, and all too often, it leaves survivors feeling like they are voiceless, isolated, and vulnerable. The reality for many survivors is that coming forward to report their assault is one of the most difficult and daunting tasks that they will ever have to do. And for some, it may take days, months, or even years to speak up, if they ever do. The reasons for this have been mentioned, but include the fear of being disbelieved, being blamed or judged, and of course, retaliation. The trauma of the assault itself being compounded by the trauma of the criminal justice process, where survivors must relive their experience in order to seek justice. And these feelings and fears are further exacerbated when the allegations are against prominent figures in the entertainment industry or Hollywood. Cases involving powerful figures often attract significant media attention, which can deter victims from coming forward due to fear of public exposure or scrutiny. The intense focus on these high-profile cases can make survivors feel that their personal lives are being put under a microscope, causing further emotional distress. These allegations mentioned here today, as reported, reflect deeply troubling claims that deserve thorough investigation, and no individual, regardless of their stature, is above the law or public accountability. Sadly, the statistics paint a very disturbing picture. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men will experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. In the US alone, there are approximately 463,000 victims of rape or sexual assault every year, and these numbers barely scratch the surface, as sexual violence remains one of the most underreported crimes. But the numbers that follow tell an even more troubling story. Only about 23% of sexual assaults are reported to law enforcement. Of those, just 5% lead to an arrest, and even fewer, less than 1% of reported cases, ever result in a conviction, which is a devastating gap between the crime and the justice that survivors deserve. I want to briefly focus on our state here in Texas. According to the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, 6.3 million Texans, men and women, will experience some form of violence. That's every 2 minutes someone is sexually assaulted, meaning during the course of this press conference, around 60 individuals will forever be changed by this violence. And those are just a few of the victims. Obviously, this is unacceptable. We cannot allow this cycle of silence and inaction to continue. We have to create an environment where survivors feel empowered to come forward, where they are met with empathy and respect and support, not skepticism and blame. We have to ensure that our legal system is equipped to handle these cases with the seriousness they deserve, and that survivors have access to the resources that they need beyond the legal courtroom. We have to address the root causes of this epidemic: prevention, awareness, and fostering environments where respect, consent, and safety are non-negotiable values. Additionally, support for survivors has to be holistic. They have to have access to counseling, medical services, legal advocacy, and of course, community support, regardless of whether they choose to report or not. To every survivor who has come forward, your bravery is an inspiration. To those who are still grappling with their decision, know that you are not alone and that your voice matters. Your story matters. We see you, we believe you, and we are committed to fighting for a future where sexual violence is no longer tolerated and where justice is not the exception, but the standard. Thank you.
I want to visit with you real quickly before we close here about some specific instances without disclosing the victim's name. You probably know that depending on the age of the victim, you can file these cases, these individual cases, under Jane Doe or John Doe. Each state is different in that respect. Typically, there is a balancing test, like the public's right to know the name of the victim and plaintiff versus the confidentiality and the safety of the plaintiff. So we'll have to struggle with that with each one of these cases. Our intention, of course, is to, like we always do, file these cases under a pseudonym until the court tells us otherwise. But let me share with you a few, just kind of give you a sense of the kind of cases and the kind of instances that people are calling and reporting that we are trying to corroborate, vet, and these are the ones that we've already corroborated, vetted, and collected evidence on. One individual who was 22 years at the time she was assaulted said that the typical MO at one of these parties that have been widely discussed in the press was that when you were handed a drink, and now we know that the drink is laced with something, if you refused to drink it, you were kicked out of the party. Now, let that sink in for a minute. I mean, the admission to this party was that you had to drink the chosen drink that was handed to you, and now we know that in most cases, I would say 90% of the cases, these individuals were drugged with some sort of drug. That was kind of the MO. Another instance, this individual who was 9 years old at the time was taken to an audition in New York City with Bad Boy Records. Other boys were there to audition as well. All of them were trying to land a record deal. All of them were minors. This individual was sexually abused, allegedly by Sean Combs and several other people at the studio in the promise to both his parents and to him himself of getting a record deal. Another instance, another minor, told allegedly by Sean Combs that he would make him a star, but he needed to visit with him in private about it, away from his parents. Once they were in a private area, allegedly Mr. Combs made the victim perform oral sex upon him. Another incident, an individual 15 years old at the time, flown to New York City to attend a party, was drugged, and then taken into a private room, allegedly in the presence of Mr. Combs, where this female individual, a minor, was raped, and then other individuals took turns raping her. Another individual, 26 at the time of the occurrence, was picked up allegedly by Mr. Combs and several other people in a black SUV from the airport, was given one drink in the SUV, and then literally woke up the next day not knowing what had happened, but with pain and damage to both her vagina and her anus, where she then went to the hospital. She was missing her underwear and her shoes. Another instance, an individual, this time not a minor, attended a group dinner, allegedly with Sean Combs in Miami. She wasn't drinking because she was pregnant, but whatever she drank at the table, apparently, at least according to her, was laced with something. She blacked out, and she woke up in the same bed, again, allegedly, with Mr. Combs in his mansion in Miami. Her vagina and her anus were torn and sore. And I could go on. I mean, literally, you're sensing a theme here. It's the same theme, and it all involves some sort of drug. One instance, an individual who was 20 years old at the time was asked to attend, just saw her on the street, asked to attend a party in a hotel. She was flattered, went to the party, was given one drink and doesn't remember anything else. Ultimately, was so messed up, went to the hospital where they found cocaine and this horse tranquilizer in her blood system. I want to give you a quote from a very young man who told us over the phone about his experience and all the things that happened to him, he says, allegedly at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs and his friends in the effort to try to sign a record deal. This was kind of what he was told he would have to do. His quote is, "Had he not been in power, I feel like I could have been something great. I quit the industry because of what Sean Combs did to me." And that's really what it comes down to. We are pursuing this, asking you to support this effort, to encourage witnesses and victims to come forward and bring your evidence so we can continue to break down this wall of silence and we can continue to have these stories heard. This is the beginning of what I hope to be a national dialogue. This type of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual exploitation should never happen in the United States or anywhere else. This should have never been allowed to go on for so long. This conduct has created a mass of individuals who are injured, scared, and scarred. If you are one of those individuals, we ask you to reach out. If not to us, to someone you trust. If you are someone who witnessed any of these events, we ask you to reach out. Your name can remain confidential. With that, I'll take a few questions, not many, maybe two, but if you have a question, I'll be pleased to try to answer it. Perfect.
How many minors are making accusations in total, and are the feds aware of the allegations of minors in the case?
I don't know what the feds are aware of, okay, but I do know it's 25 out of this 120.
And Tony,
But I will say this to that point. We welcome the FBI or any authority who wants to come to us, and we're going to make that available to these victims because I think that's important. My suspicion is, based on talking with these folks, is that the FBI is just not aware of these people. The FBI has talked to some of these folks, and I'm going to try to encourage the victims to, in fact, talk to the FBI because I think they have some very important things to say.
Tony, were all of the children auditioning because they were musicians, or were any of them kids of employees or anything like that?
All seeking either TV or some sort of music career with promises of, we're going to make you a star. Instead, basically did things to them such that they don't want to have anything to do with the entertainment industry ever again. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your attention. We're going to go now. Thank you.
Tony, do you anticipate any Houston cases?
Any filed here?
Locally, yeah.
There's a few plaintiffs here, but I don't anticipate filing them here. Probably in New York City.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so there's the SA hotline, 1-800-200-7474. I would assume that's in America, but if you are there and you want to call that, if you want to call this attorney as well, my goodness, so many they said 3,000. And now they said out of the 3,000 that came forward, they are representing 120. And out of those, 25 were minors at the time. Oh my word, this got so much worse, right? True Crime is Strategic Guys says, thank you for covering this. I didn't know this was happening without your notification. I gotta go, but I'll be back for the replay. Diddy is done. He is so done, right? Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone as well for, wow, your stickers. Oh my goodness. Mark England, $100 super sticker. Thank you so much. And Lizzie Hirschberger, it's so nice to see you. We've had Lizzie on as a guest before. It should be like OG days. If you were here, you may have remembered that. Thank you, Lizzie, for being here. Oh my word. So, okay, wait, I made a couple of notes. Okay, sorry for paper flapping here. Ooh, they referred to things, like the white parties and then the freak-offs and then puppy parties. That sounds horrifying already, just given the context of everything we just heard, which was very shocking. I think more shocking than we could ever imagine. That's what I'm saying. It's not a rabbit hole. This is like a black hole in space you're going to fly into and get lost in. It's just so huge. This is, as people are saying, it's like Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein combined, it sounds like. It sounds absolutely terrifying, and it involves children, one even as young as 9 at the time, of course, when the crimes happened. They're looking at this from, obviously, 1991 to 2024. That's why I say decades of this happening. That's terrible. Cindy, thank you so much. And so, age 9, age 14, I like this quote that they said, a lie has great speed, but truth has endurance. I like that quote a lot. I've wrote that down for us. Okay, so I'm going to keep that one, right? So this was all also auditions, dangling the carrot. I'm going to make you a star. Like, ooh, oh no, run for your life. Now I'm going to warn you that obviously there's going to be a lot of speculation. Even my mind was like, oh my word, is that Jaden Smith, Will Smith's son? There's already a lot coming out about maybe Jaden Smith, maybe Justin Bieber. We've read some of the lawsuits. One that they mentioned, in particular, one victim that they mentioned going to the hospital and not having her shoes and things like that. I think that would be the most recent press conference we saw, which was Thalia Graves. She was so brave to come forward and share her story. I've read her document as well, and it's really graphic, which is why we haven't read it together yet. I have to find a way to try to do that because it's really upsetting and really graphic. So I'm just saying, just be careful with the speculation until we actually know, because it's going to go wild, right? Always Createful says, was the 3,000 who have come forward or that are known of? They said 3,000 came forward and they're representing 120. They said confirmed and represented. So, and they said many people that we all know, which means celebrities that are on the other side of this. Some will be victims, some will be perps, and they're going to, it sounds like, try their very best to hold everybody accountable, because that is the question. Even in reading like Thalia Graves's document and what happened to her in Sean Combs' studio, and maybe with another employee there, it sounded like, which was her boyfriend at the time, horrifying. What happened to her, I'm going to word it like this. So there's a pool table, she also gets roofied, and then she gets essayed, right? But the mess that is described, who's cleaning that up? Who's cleaning up after this guy? Who was watching? Who was participating? Who's passing all these kids around and people around? I hope every single one of them will be held accountable, right? So they said they're going to be filing cases under a pseudonym. So that's why I say speculation is going to run absolutely rampant, because of course we all want to know who, what, where, how, all of that. And we've already seen celebrities deleting their data. All their formerly Twitter, of course, all their posts gone. Just deleted. We've seen a few of them do that. I think Usher and Pink, and there's at least 5 of them that I've seen where all their posts disappear, and I'm like, wow, what's going on there, right? What is going on there? Zero patient said the lawyer said the 9-year-old parents knew what the child had to move up. That's why I'm saying there's already speculation out about the Smiths, which I'm not saying it. I'm just saying there's speculation. So you're going to see a lot more of that, I'm sure, right? What we're going to do here at Grizzly True Crime is, for me, I feel like I get lost in all of that speculation. I get really overwhelmed. It's absolutely horrifying. This case is overwhelming as it is. So I'm going to try my very best to stick to press conferences and documents, because that's what we do, right? We're going to do the true crime format we always do, so that we know, well, what is true and what is not. We try to filter out, what's happening every step of the way. So yes. And as I say, some of the documents are eerily similar, the same type of abuse, sexual assault, violence, domestic violence, all of that. These victims to come forward, they are being so brave, but to think that finally he's behind bars, the leader of the pack, right? Because it sounds like there's a pack. He's finally behind bars. He's in a very terrible place as well, apparently, right? We looked at that last time, and he's begging to come out. Obviously, he's like, let me out. I'll give $50 million. Just trying to, as usual, throw money at the problem. I think that's how he dealt with problems always. I like how the victim's advocate said that abusers work themselves into positions of power. They're very skilled at power and control. Yeah, that coercive control, we can see that with Diddy, right? Horrifying. And the victims rely on the abuser in some way. So it could be children, or the employee, or the employee's children, or their intimate partners, right? Wow. Okay, so the MO, as they say, is you would go to these parties and it's the after party. I saw a clip with Machine Gun Kelly saying, well, the thing about the parties is that you can't get into the parties. It's really by invite only, and there's obviously rules and boundaries and things like that. So, terrible ones. Not good bound. Like, you have to. If you want to come to this party, you're drinking this. And then it's laced with, which, let me just get that word again here. It was, it was xylazine, which is a very strong tranquilizer used for veterinary use. Just hold on, I just want to see it again. Xylazine. It's spelled XYLAZINE. And I'm going to put in the chat here what it's described as, okay? Check this out. Let me put it up here so we can read it. Also known as tranq, that's what they also said at the press conference, is a powerful sedative that the US Food and Drug Administration has approved for veterinary use. Veterinary use. I mean, there were other things as well. All sorts of things. They say GHB and ecstasy and this, and I think the GHB was probably in the baby oil, right? It's like liquid. I don't know. People are saying liquid ecstasy or GHB, all that stuff, right? Mukesh said horse tranquilizer. Oh my goodness. I mean, my jaw is on the floor. I don't really know what else to say, but I'm so glad that there are attorneys, representing these victims that are coming forward. I hope that there'll be more resources for victims so they can come forward and feel safe and tell their story, because this has been going on for a long time. So yeah, the MO would be, you have to have this drink, otherwise you're kicked out of the party. So it's already difficult to get to the party, and it makes people want that because scarcity sells, right? If you can't get in, you want to get in, especially if you're a celebrity. Like, why can't I go? So then of course, he also took advantage of children. But if you go into this party, you have to have the drink, which was laced, and then you black out. And then you wake up with all sorts of pain, injuries. You've been passed around, and there's humiliating videos. That's what's so bad. He did all this allegedly and filmed it all. It's like layers on layers of trauma and shame. I just can't even imagine. Now, I do want to say, I know that there's a lot of survivors in this community as well. I know this case can be extremely triggering. Please, I ask as well, don't send me graphic details of your own trauma. I have my own trauma too. I've been through a lot myself, and it can be triggering for all of us. So let's just make sure we look after ourselves and our mental health and do our best to focus on the facts and cheer these victims on, because of course, if they get justice, in a way, it's kind of like, I also feel like, okay, well, things that we went through are validated as well, right? So I'm rooting for them. I believe them, and I hope many more of them come forward. No matter who they are or how famous they might be, I hope they come forward and share their story, because it could really change lives. It's got the power. They've got platforms to really change lives, right? D. Berlin said, is that the same tranquilizer that was used on Suzanne Morphew? I can't remember. We read about a lot of things like that in true crime. I'll have to go and double check. So, yes, okay. So, everybody, let's leave it at that for now, because I've got to process that press conference and everything we just heard. I was like, what? Like, that was a lot. And let's see, they said the filings, these lawsuits will be filed within the next 30 days. So I guess by the end of the month, we'll have some documents. I don't know at what point things will be sealed. I'm sure with a case like this, a lot of things will be sealed at some point, and they're going to be using pseudonyms. So we'll see. But if we can get our hands on any documents, of course, I'll go through them and see if it's something that I can share with you. Some of them, as I say, are horrifying, so scary, but I'll do my best. Okay. So let me just make sure that I've got everything. Yes. Okay. I've discussed everything with you. Thank you so much for being here with me to watch this press conference. I will continue to diligently follow the facts in this case and bring to you what I can. Thank you, mods. I really appreciate it. If you guys are, I don't know where, if you're in America, doesn't matter actually where you are. If you're watching Court TV later, I'll be on at 9 p.m. Eastern time. You got to go to the website, courttv.com, to see me live. Click watch live. If you're not in America, you got to have a VPN on. Okay. And I'll be over there. So if you want to see me later some more, you'll see me on Court TV with Vinny, which I'm looking forward to, discussing the Madeline Soto case. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. See you again soon. Bye.